I never thought that at the age of 47 I would end up in bed with a girl who could be my daughter, let alone that I would do it for revenge. Life is a funny thing, just when you think you have it all figured out, it throws you an unpleasant surprise that turns you upside down. So let me back up and start properly. My name is Nathan, and that's me in a nutshell. Just your typical middle-aged dude, nothing worth slapping on a billboard, at least not until this whole mess exploded. Me and Claire, we've been hitched for 18 years. We crossed paths back in our late 20s, when I still had a spring in my step and my hair wasn't peppered with gray. She had this glow about her, the kind that could brighten up any room and make folks feel like they mattered. I ate that up, made me feel like I'd hit the jackpot. Our marriage, well, it was what you'd expect, no fairy tale, but whose is? We had our good days and our rough patches, but I always figured we'd tough it out. Not like we were all lovey-dovey 24/7, and yeah, we'd bicker plenty, but I thought we'd always patch things up. Guess I was kidding myself. Looking back, I see I was just another clueless husband banking on everything working out if we kept trudging along. Then there's Trevor, my supposed best buddy. We go back nearly 15 years, ever since we punched the clock together way back when. This guy has been through a tough time. He lost his wife in a car accident about 8 years ago. Left him raising his little girl, Sophie, who was only 11 when it happened. I can still picture how wrecked he was, barely keeping it together that first year. Claire and I, we stuck by him, especially her. She stepped up big time for Sophie, almost like she was trying to step into his late wife's shoes. Sophie was always hanging out at our place, practically grew up under our roof. She'd call me Uncle Nathan, and after a while, she started opening up to me about stuff she wouldn't tell Trevor. You know how teens are, they don't always spill their guts to their folks. I saw her as a kid sister, and I reckon she viewed me more like a big brother than anything else. She'd unload all her teenage woes on me, boy troubles, school crap, the works, and Trevor seemed grateful for it. Or at least, I assumed he was. We lived just down the road, so they'd pop by all the time, no heads up needed, like they were part of the family. Trevor was basically a permanent fixture in our house, and I never thought twice about it. But I had no clue that coziness was about to turn into something ugly and twisted. Then one day, the whole damn thing came crashing down around me. I wasn't even supposed to be home that afternoon. I'd been slogging away at work when this sharp pain stabbed me right in the stomach out of nowhere. My boss, solid guy that he is, told me to clock out early and head home to rest up. So I did, planning to flop into bed and sleep it off, except I never even got that far, 'cause when I rolled into the driveway, there was Trevor's car, sitting pretty. Not a big deal on its own, he'd parked there all the time when he'd swing by for a beer or to shoot the breeze. But something felt off, like a little voice in my head wouldn't shut up, call it a hunch or just me being paranoid. The front door was locked, which threw me. Claire never bothered locking it during the day, especially not with company over, and we lived in a sleepy little neighborhood where nobody did. Still, there it was, bolted shut, so I fished out my keys and let myself in. House was dead quiet. Too quiet, like the air was holding its breath, and then I caught it, soft at first, but no mistaking it. Moans, little gasps, and hushed words floating down from upstairs. My heart damn near stopped, and my brain just wouldn't catch up. No way, this ain't real, I kept telling myself, but deep down, I knew it was. I didn't even think, just moved, my legs hauling me up the stairs faster than my head could process. Every step down that hallway felt like wading deeper into some screwed-up dream I couldn't shake loose from. I wasn't dumb enough to go up empty-handed either, so I snagged the baseball bat from the closet on my way. When I got to the bedroom door, I froze there for what seemed like forever, just listening. Then I shoved it open, and holy hell, nothing could have prepped me for that sight. There was Claire, my wife of 18 damn years, riding my best friend like it was nothing. They both locked eyes on me, bat in hand, and went pale as ghosts. Her jaw dropped, but she couldn't choke out a word. Trevor, he scrambled off the bed like a cornered animal. I didn't say jack, just marched over and slammed the bat into the floor, hard enough to split the wood. He flinched, but I wasn't swinging at him, not yet, anyway. Didn't need to speak, the guilt was smeared all over their faces, plain as day. Claire, always quick to spin a story, finally piped up, "Nathan, hold on, don't do something dumb, let's just talk." Talk. After that? I dropped the bat, hauled off, and clocked Trevor square in the face, once, twice, then a third time, till his lip split open and blood trickled down his chin. Claire shrieked, clawing at me to stop, but I was too far gone to give a damn. "What the fuck, man?" Trevor sputtered, eyes bugging out in panic. "Nathan, it's not what you think." "How long?" I growled, my voice shaking so bad I barely recognized it. "How long you been doing this?" Neither of them had an answer, just stood there looking pitiful. I didn't stick around for their bullshit excuses. I scooped up the bat, stormed out the front door, and went to town on Trevor's car, smashed the windshield, dented the hood, busted the mirrors, all while my head spun, screaming, "How'd it come to this?" I hopped in my truck and peeled out. Didn't know where I was headed at first, but then it clicked, I needed a drink, no, I needed to get plastered till I couldn't feel a damn thing. So I aimed for the bar, the one spot where the world usually made sense, where shit didn't feel so upside down. I walked in, still clutching that bat like it was my lifeline in all this madness. The regulars were there, hunched over their drinks, wrapped up in their own messes. Didn't say a word as I plopped down at the counter, but I could feel them staring. Guess it's not every day a guy like me rolls in at noon looking like he just crawled out of hell. "Tequila," I mumbled, not even bothering to look up at the bartender. Didn't need to, Mike knew the drill. Mike's a good dude, been slinging drinks there forever, seen more crap than most, always ready with a smart-ass quip or a quiet ear, whatever you're in for. Mike didn't pry, just slid a tequila my way and plunked the glass down in front of me. I tossed it back in one quick swig, the burn barely scratched the surface as it slid down my throat. By the time I was calling for my third round, Mike edged in closer, one eyebrow creeping up. "You holding up okay, Nathan? Ain't like you to roll in here before the streetlights flicker on." His tone was smooth, steady, like he'd weathered a million hard-luck tales before mine, but I caught a little worry sneaking in there too. Nobody'd ever seen me this messed up, not in all the years I'd been a regular at this joint. I let out a sharp, sour chuckle, sounded more like a dog yapping than a laugh. "Ever catch your wife in bed with your best pal?" Mike's eyes popped wide for a second, but he didn't flinch, like he'd heard crazier shit than that. "Damn," he muttered, letting a low whistle slip out. "That's brutal, man." "Brutal doesn't even scratch it," I grumbled, twirling the tequila in my glass, watching the golden glow bounce off the dim bar lights. I stared into that drink like it might cough up some answers, like it could untangle the chaos in my head, but nope, nothing doing. Didn't make a lick of sense, and neither did anything else. No clue why I spilled my guts to him, maybe the booze loosened my tongue, or maybe I just had to purge it before it chewed me up inside. But I laid it all out, every last bit. Told him how I'd walked in on them, the deer-in-headlights looks they gave me, the way that bats smashed the floor like thunder. I rambled on about trashing Trevor's car, landing those punches, and how it felt like my whole world got yanked out from under me. Mike just took it in, didn't cut me off once. When I finally ran out of steam, he clapped a heavy, steady hand on my shoulder. "That's a rotten deal, man, no sugarcoating it." I gave a slow nod, eyes locked on the empty glass sitting there. "Hell, rotten didn't even come close to covering it." "But here's the thing," Mike went on, leaning in a touch closer. "You can't let yourself fall apart over this, don't give M the satisfaction of winning." I met his gaze, his words sinking in deep, heavy as lead. "What'd you do if you were in my shoes?" He didn't even blink. "Me? I'd be right where you are, drowning in tequila, maybe smashing something to bits. Hell, let's make it a toast." He grabbed a glass, poured himself a shot, and tapped it against mine. "To backstabbing friends and two-timing wives." I cracked a smirk, the first real feeling I'd had all day that wasn't pure rage. We knocked back our drinks in sync, and he slammed his glass down with a thud. But after that, he kept going. I'd want payback, the kind that strips M bare, leaves M with nothing. Your wife, that so-called buddy, make M wish they'd never screwed you over. I stared at him, his words hitting me harder than the liquor ever could. Revenge, damn right, that's what I was craving, to watch them squirm, to shred their lives like they'd shredded mine. I'm in, I said, voice low but solid as steel. I'm gonna bury M, leave M with zilch. Mike tipped his head in a quick nod, but his expression softened a bit. Just play it sharp, Nathan, you're a decent guy. Don't let this twist you into something you ain't. Hours bled by, and I got so hammered I couldn't tell up from down. Had no idea how I'd drag myself home, didn't even care, lost in the fog of tequila and fury. Mike must have clocked it, though. Before I could stagger out to my truck, he swiped my keys off the counter. You ain't driving nowhere, Nathan, come grab these when you're sober. I started to argue, but I was too trashed to put up a fight, so I just slumped back on the stool with a grunt. Taxi's coming, Mike said, already dialing. When it pulled up, I stumbled into the back seat, damn near toppling over. The driver didn't say squat, bless him for that, just hit the gas, and I spent the ride gazing out the window, the city smearing past like some fuzzy dream. After that, it's all a blur. Next thing I knew, I was fumbling through my front door, the same damn house where this nightmare kicked off. It felt hollow, like the ghost of the life I used to have, and I crashed onto the couch, still in my clothes, out cold. Morning hit me like a freight train, worst hangover I'd ever had, head pounding like it had been flattened under a tire. My mouth was a desert, and every inch of me ached like I'd been through a meat grinder. But the real kick in the teeth wasn't the physical stuff. By the time I dragged myself off the couch that afternoon, my skull was still throbbing, but I couldn't wallow in it, I had moves to make. Divorce wasn't gonna magic itself into happening, I had to get the ball rolling. I snatched my phone and dialed up Ethan, a divorce lawyer I'd met at some work thing a while back. We'd chat now and then, and I knew he could handle a train wreck like mine. Ethan, it's Nathan, I need to talk divorce, I said, flat out, no energy for chit-chat. Shit, Nathan, didn't see this one coming, Ethan replied, his voice caught between shock and feeling bad for me. Alright, lay it out for me. I gave him the rundown. Claire, the cheating, our 16 years together, didn't hold back a thing. Ethan needed the full picture if I was gonna make damn sure Claire didn't walk off with a dime. Hanging up left me feeling a smidge lighter, just a smidge. Then I spotted it, Claire's work laptop, sitting pretty on the dining room table. She'd been yammering about some big presentation for weeks, a make-or-break deal for her job, and I knew she'd been sweating bullets over it. That's when it clicked, a way to hit back, to make her life a little uglier. I plopped down, flipped open the laptop, and started poking through her files till I found that precious presentation. I ain't no computer genius, but I knew enough to throw a wrench in her plans. Scrolling through the slides, I hunted for the perfect spot to strike. Then it hit me, her meeting was with some bigwigs from a Korean company. A quick Google search turned up some stuff that'd ruffle their feathers, nothing blatant, just subtle enough to stir up trouble. I slipped it right into the middle of her slides, tucked away so she wouldn't catch it, till she was knee-deep in her pitch. Threw in a couple of raunchy pics too, stashed M a few slides in, not up front where she'd spot M, but far enough along to catch her off guard and tank her big moment. I wasn't just gonna wreck her marriage, I was aiming to screw up her whole damn world. Head still killing me, I popped some painkillers and crashed out. By evening, I was back on my feet, just in time for Claire to stroll in like nothing had gone down, probably thinking she could sweet-talk her way out of this like always. Nathan, we need to talk, she started, her voice all calm but with that sharp edge I'd grown to despise. I didn't even glance her way. Go to hell, Claire, we're done. Divorce is happening. She didn't even hesitate. You're an idiot, she snapped at me, arms folded tight across her chest, probably figuring I'd just simmer down eventually, like this was some dumb squabble over bills or what's for supper. Well, we'd find out soon enough who the real idiot was. I fired right back, jumping up from my seat and stomping out to the porch. Truth is, I didn't have a clue where I was headed. Neither did she, for that matter. Our house had plenty of space for the two of us, but that night, it might as well have been a jail cell. No way was I crawling into bed beside her, so I decided I'd just sack out on the couch again. Thing is, I didn't even last the night in that place. It was a couple hours past midnight when my phone started buzzing. At first, I figured it was another one of those annoying spam calls, but then I squinted at the screen and saw Sophie's name, Trevor's girl. I picked up, my voice all scratchy and rough. "Hey," I mumbled. Her voice came through all garbled at first, and I couldn't make heads or tails of it. She was slurring her words, tripping over them like a drunk stumbling downstairs. But after a minute or so, it clicked, she was hammered. Completely trashed. Turns out she'd been at some wild party and couldn't get herself home. Out of everyone she could have called, she picked me to come scoop her up, didn't want her old man finding out, and I guess I was the only one she trusted not to rat. So I threw on some clothes, snagged my keys, and hit the road. When I pulled up to the spot she'd told me about, there she was, propped against a wall, barely holding herself up. The stench of booze slammed into me like a freight train as she staggered over to my car. I swung the door open for her, and she pretty much collapsed into the passenger seat. "What the heck, Sophie?" I said, more worried than pissed off. "This ain't you." She just waved me off, her head flopping back against the seat. "My boyfriend," she muttered, tears welling up but a weird little smile still plastered on her face. "He screwed around on me." Drunk, all torn up, and totally lost, she was a wreck. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of pity for her. I knew that sting all too well. "You ain't the only one who's been stabbed in the back," I told her, staring straight ahead at the road. She twisted in her seat to face me. Her boozy curiosity kicked in. "Who else got burned?" I let out a heavy sigh and gave her the short version of the mess with Claire and Trevor, not the gritty details, just enough to paint the picture. "Oh, Uncle Nathan," she whispered, scooting closer, her hand landing on my leg. "That's awful." At first, I thought she was just trying to cheer me up, but that hand kept moving. It slid up and down my leg, slow and deliberate, and I felt every muscle in me tighten up. "Sophie, knock it off," I said, grabbing her hand and pushing it away. But she wasn't quitting. She kept at it, her drunken flirting plain as day now. "I want to make you feel good," she murmured, her hand creeping back to my thigh. I tried to fight it. I swear I did. But the rage, the hurt, the buzz from her booze-soaked breath, it all smashed together. At some point, I just stopped giving a damn. Maybe it was payback. Maybe it was the liquor clouding my head. But when she unzipped my pants and leaned down, I didn't push her away. She knew what she was doing. Trevor and Claire faded out of my mind, all I could feel was the moment, this messed up thrill of stepping over a line I couldn't take back. When she finished, she sat back with a sloppy grin, lipstick all smudged, makeup running wild. "There's a hotel close by," she said, her voice low and loaded. "You don't want to go home, and I sure don't." I didn't argue. We rolled up to that hotel and spent the rest of the night tangled up in bed, doing stuff I never imagined I'd do with Sophie. I'm 47, but that night, the years didn't mean a thing, I kept pace somehow. Come morning, she shook me awake, smirking. "Let's snap a photo," she said, grabbing my phone since hers was toast. I don't know why, but I went along with it. She struck a pose, makeup smeared across her face like a war zone, and I clicked the shutter, her lipstick still smeared on me. We crashed back into bed after, but when the hangover hit later, reality came roaring back, and I felt off, like I'd gone too far to turn back. I wasn't sorry, exactly, but I knew the mess was just getting started. Stepping out of the hotel into the crisp morning light felt unreal, like everything should have been normal, but the weight of what we'd done hung there, heavy as a thunderhead. Sophie broke the quiet first, lighting up a cigarette and blowing out a long, lazy stream of smoke, like she didn't have a worry in the world. "You know," she said, all casual, like we were chatting about the forecast. "You could show that picture to my dad." I froze mid-step, staring at her. "Say what?" She took another drag, eyeing me sideways with a grin that didn't fit the bombshell she'd just dropped. "I'm serious. You could flash him that shot of me." "I don't care anymore." I shook my head, trying to wrap my brain around it. "Why in the world would you want that?" Sophie just shrugged, that grin still hanging on like this was all a big joke. "I've been dying to ditch him for years. He won't let me go. Every time I talk about moving out or doing my own thing, he lays on this 'you'll crash and burn without me' crap. I'm over it, Nathan. Maybe if he sees that pic, he'll finally get the hint. Maybe he'll let me breathe." I just stood there, her words sinking in like lead. This wasn't some bratty tantrum. This was years of Trevor keeping her under his boot, choking her out, and she was ready to use me, use what we'd done, to smash it all to pieces and break free. "I ain't doing that," I told her, but honestly, the idea had already flickered through my head. Another way to shove it in Trevor's face, to rip everything wide open. "Whatever you say," she replied, flicking her cigarette into the gutter. She didn't seem fazed either way, like the fallout didn't even register. "But if you rethink it, you know where I'm at." I dropped her off at her place, and we didn't say much after that. Her words bounced around in my skull the whole drive home. That photo kept popping up in my mind, her smeared makeup, her lipstick still on me. It felt like a loaded gun, just waiting to go off and obliterate everything. And part of me wanted to pull the trigger, torch every damn bridge and watch it all burn. When I walked back into the house, the air was thick with tension before I even crossed the threshold. Claire's laptop sat there on the dining table, a quiet little reminder of the payback I'd kicked off. She had no clue what was coming, her big presentation, the one she'd been sweating over for weeks, the make-or-break moment for her job. And I'd turned it into a ticking time bomb. Didn't take long to find out. Claire stormed in just before supper, slamming the door so hard the picture frames rattled. She didn't even glance my way. Her face was all twisted up with raw, boiling anger. Before I could open my mouth, she chucked that laptop across the room. That laptop smashed into the wall with a loud snap, the screen busting apart as it hit the floor. "You dumb son of a bitch!" Claire hollered, her voice raw and ragged with fury. "This was you, wasn't it?" I just sat there on the couch, cool as a cucumber on the outside, even though my gut was churning. "Could be," I said. She charged across the room, face flushed red, eyes blazing like a wild animal. "You tanked my presentation, you bastard. You got any clue what you've done to me?" she yelled. I didn't even twitch. "Oh, I know damn well what I did." Her hands were trembling, and for a split second, I braced myself for a swing. "They canned me, Nathan," she spat. "Fired me right there in front of everybody. You realize what that means? No one's gonna hire me now, I'm done for." I cocked an eyebrow. "Sounds good to me." She let out this scream, half fury, half heartbreak, and grabbed a chair, hurling it sideways. "You've destroyed me, Nathan. Everything's gone because of you. What was it for, huh? Payback? Well, screw you, because here's a newsflash, I've been sleeping with Trevor for years. Didn't even wait, till his wife's funeral was cold in the ground. You were too dense to notice." That slammed into me like a sucker punch. I'd figured on some betrayal, but them kicking it off right after his wife's funeral. That was a fresh kind of vicious. My stomach knotted up, bile creeping up my throat. How'd I miss it all this time, stumbling around like a clueless fool? They'd been sneaking around, banging each other while I was holding Trevor's hand through his grief, me, the idiot, propping him up while they stabbed me in the back. I shot to my feet, fists balled tight. "Burn in hell, Claire." She stormed off, slamming the bedroom door so hard it shook the house. Just like that, she was out of my sight, at least for now. But I wasn't finished, not even close. I sank back onto the couch, my head still spinning from the bombs she'd dropped. That's when I grabbed my phone, thumbed through my texts, and landed on Trevor's name. I lingered over that picture of Sophie for a heartbeat before I smashed the send button. The shot, her messy makeup, that look in her eyes, was zooming straight to him now. The last spike in this coffin. I didn't give a rat's ass what happened next. I just wanted him to choke on the same hurt, the same mess that had swallowed me whole. 15 minutes later, I heard tires squeal outside, Trevor peeling into the driveway. He didn't bother with a knock. The door burst open, and he barreled in like a madman, face contorted with rage, fists ready to fly. "What the hell is this, Nathan?" he roared, shoving his phone in my face, Sophie's picture glaring back at me. I didn't budge. "What's it look like, genius?" That's when he came at me, his fist cracking against my jaw. I stumbled back but swung hard, catching him right back. We slammed into the coffee table, thrashing, slugging, grabbing whatever we could to tear into each other. This wasn't some slick movie fight. It was ugly, animalistic, two guys shredded by betrayal, unloading every ounce of pain the only way we knew how. We ended up sprawled on the floor, beat to hell, bloody and bruised, gasping for air and staring at the ceiling like a couple of whipped dogs too tired to keep scrapping. Neither of us said a damn thing. What was left to say? We'd both torched our lives in our own messed up ways, and now we were just lying there in the wreckage. Then the sirens kicked up, and 10 minutes later, the cops kicked in the door. Some neighbor must have peeked through the window, seen us trading blows, and dialed 911. The officers yanked us apart, hauled us up, and marched us out to the squad cars. I sat in the station for a few hours, mostly just zoning out. We didn't press charges, too drained to keep the fight alive. They cut us loose with a slap on the wrist and a "don't do it again." When I dragged myself home that night, something odd settled over me. For the first time in forever, I felt lighter. Not great, but like I'd finally puked up all that poison that had been gnawing at me. Claire, Trevor, Sophie, they could all rot for all I cared. Maybe I was the one who lit the match and burned it all down, but after everything, I was cool with that. Sometimes you gotta set fire to the whole damn mess and walk away from the embers to keep breathing. Me and Claire split up quicker than I'd figured. After all that chaos, there wasn't much worth holding on to. No sense in dragging it out, love was gone, trust was ash, just an empty hole where our marriage used to sit. It was like watching a house go up in flames and realizing mid-blaze there wasn't a damn thing worth pulling from the rubble. We signed the divorce papers, split what was left, and went our own ways. A few months later, we sold the house, that place that used to mean everything. It was our home once, where we dreamed up a future, bickered over dumb stuff, even had some decent times way back when. But after all that went down, it felt more like a graveyard, the walls still ringing with the shouting, the backstabbing, and that last brutal crash. I was glad to see it go, shutting that book for good. We both moved out, headed to new spots. I landed in a little apartment across town. Nothing special, but it's mine, and it feels like a clean slate, something I can steer on my own. Didn't care where Claire ended up, long as it was nowhere near me. That distance meant no awkward run-ins at the store or old haunts, and that's all I needed. We both craved space, and now we've got it. Sophie, though, she threw me for a loop. After we parted ways, she took the reins of her life. She ditched Trevor's place, snagged a solid gig in another city, and started carving out her own path. I'm oddly proud of her, in a way. We still chat now and then, light stuff, nothing deep. She'll check in on me sometimes, and I'll shoot her a message back. Funny thing is, we haven't laid eyes on each other since that hotel night, and I reckon we both know it's better that way. I never wanted to keep that rolling. What went down was a one-off, sparked by booze and bitterness. We were both just running from something that night, no point in turning it into more. Some stuff belongs in the rearview. Claire, though, she didn't bounce back so smooth. Word about her presentation flop spread like wildfire. Word spread like wildfire through her field, and nobody wanted to roll the dice on Claire after that mess. Getting axed was bad enough, but the whispers, the tales about her boardroom meltdown, pretty much blackballed her. She hustled for jobs, but nothing panned out. I caught wind she drifted around some, but companies wouldn't go near her. Who's gonna take a chance on someone who tanked that hard in front of a bunch of big shots? What really stuck with me, though, was hearing about her and Trevor. Yup, after the whole thing blew sky high, they tried to make a go of it. Guess they figured since they'd already trashed their marriages, what was left to lose? Problem is, a relationship stitched together with deceit doesn't hold up long. That thrill they had sneaking around behind my back. It fizzled fast once they had to face each other in broad daylight. Word was, it all went south quick. They started hitting the bottle hard. It turned into this grim routine, night after night, just the two of them trapped in a nasty loop of liquor and resentment. Maybe they thought the booze would blur out the guilt, but it just made the hole deeper. When you lean on a bottle to bury your troubles, all you end up burying is yourself. Didn't take long for their little love story to crash and burn. A buddy we both knew told me it all boiled over one night. They got into a fight uglier than usual. Trevor clocked her hard enough to land her in the hospital, and he wound up behind bars. Not sure if she pressed charges or not, he did time either way. I didn't dig for details, didn't care enough to bother. They got what was coming, one way or another. As for me, things started picking up. It wasn't some instant ticket to Happyville, but bit by bit, life got brighter. I've always been the stubborn type, figured I could tough it out solo, no help needed. But after all that crap hit the fan, I saw I couldn't lug that baggage alone. The rage, the backstabbing, the shame, it was like a toxin eating me up from the inside. So I sucked it up and started talking to a shrink. Man, that first session was rough, sitting there, unloading my guts to some stranger who didn't know my story, didn't know the hell I'd walked through. But a few visits in, it clicked. I needed this. I needed someone to help me dig through the junk I'd buried deep. It felt like shrugging off a load I didn't even realize was crushing me. I also swum back by the bar. Mike, the bartender, had been a steady face for me from the jump, even if he didn't have the full scoop. One night, after a couple tequilas loosened me up, I spilled it all, Claire and Trevor, Sophie, the photo, the brawl, every damn bit. I braced myself for him to give me that look, like I was some lowlife creep, but nah, he just listened, nodding like he'd heard worse. When I got to the part about texting Trevor that pic of his kid, Mike let out this slow whistle, shook his head, and said, "Buddy," as he poured us each a shot of bourbon. That's one wild ride. We tapped glasses, knocked 'em back, and after that, we cracked up, not 'cause it was hilarious, 'cause it sure wasn't, but sometimes laughing's all you've got left. If you don't, the whole damn mess'll flatten you. Looking back, I've chewed over it plenty. Did I do right? Was all that revenge worth the chaos? Did it patch anything up? Nah, probably not. Still, it handed me some kind of ending, a closure I wasn't sure I'd ever snag. Claire and Trevor got theirs, Sophie carved her own path out, and me. I'm still on my feet. So, to anybody who stuck with me through this whole tale, thanks. I had to get it out, lay the whole damn thing bare from start to finish. Life's a sloppy, unpredictable beast, and sometimes it's downright mean. But you deal. You keep trucking. And if you're lucky, you pick up a lesson or two along the way. Was I right? Hell if I know, maybe, maybe not. But I'm still here, still pushing ahead, and that's gotta mean something, doesn't it? Good luck out there, folks, life's a beast, but sometimes you just gotta chuckle and roll with it.